Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Jason Borneo. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Raleigh Police Department. Welcome to the City of Raleigh Emergency Operations Center. Thank you to those joining us online and on the Raleigh Television Network. Thank you to Director Dominic Nutter for hosting us here today. Chief Patterson will be discussing our 2024 Quarter 2 crime statistics and our collaborative efforts to prevent and reduce crime in our community through partnerships and investments in our workforce. Joining her today are Deputy Chief of Operations Rico Boyce, Chief of Staff Amanda Roll, and two community leaders, public safety advocates, and friends of RPD, Bishop Hagee of Transformation Church in Raleigh, and Mr. Gaffney Gunter of Gunter Enterprises, who operates two McDonald's locations here in our great city. Chief Patterson has been steadfast in her commitment to making Raleigh the safest city in the country, and the information presented today is a clear indication that our efforts are leading crime to trend in the right direction. We will also discuss our new civilian traffic investigator unit and how this team will be a game changer in our effort to reduce crime and increase public safety in our city. After the news conference today, the media is welcome to join us outside to photograph the new vehicles and speak with Captain Brent Howard of our Special Operations Division. After the Chief's remarks, we're happy to take questions from the media. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Patterson.
Thank you, Lieutenant Borneo. And good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our second quarter 2024 crime briefing. This briefing reconfirms our commitment to transparency with the community that we serve. We know that residents want to know what is occurring in their neighborhoods and their places of employment, and it's important to us that you learn of our successes, the things that we are doing right, and what we are experiencing as it relates to crime prevention, but also to those areas where we have to focus more resources and have our personnel in our goal of making Raleigh the safest city. I'm extremely grateful to have an all-star and dedicated team of executive and command staff members who are working every day, devoting themselves to the work here at the Raleigh Police Department and to our community. And also to our community partners who don't mind standing with us publicly to show that it takes a collaboration and that it takes teamwork in order to achieve our goals. Just as with any other crime briefing that we conduct, I will be sharing crime statistics, as the lieutenant stated, for the quarter, which covers the months of April, May, and June of this year. We have provided a handout to you so that you have those current numbers as well. So let's begin with the good news. Let's talk about crime reductions. I'm pleased to announce that we experienced crime reductions in our robberies from business, our aggravated assaults involving firearms, and our firearms that were stolen from vehicles. These are areas that we have been focusing on in the last year and a half. I have been going over with staff saying we've got to find a way to impact these crimes, and they are doing just that. We're beginning to see the fruit of our labor, especially with our aggravated assaults that involve firearms. And while we are happy to see those reductions, we acknowledge that there are increases in our homicides, our robberies from person, our motor vehicle thefts, and we're seeing more crash fatalities. In evaluating the homicides, there were 7 this quarter compared to 4 last year this time. Of the 7, we made arrests in all of them, which gives us a 100% clearance rate, which is really a compliment to our homicide unit. They are doing extraordinary work in really finding who these offenders are and tracking them down. Also, too, we're working very closely with our district attorney's office to ensure that once these individuals are charged, that they are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law to prevent further harm in our communities. Of the 7 victims, 1 was a juvenile. In 2 cases, juveniles were identified as suspects, which is concerning to us. None of the 7 homicides were concentrated in one particular area of the city. We saw them in North Raleigh, we saw some in South Raleigh. 4 of the cases involved firearms, and 4 the suspect and the victim were known to each other. None of these cases occurred at the nightclub, which is wonderful for us because we have been focusing on our nightclub establishments to make sure that they are as safe as they can be. With respect to robberies from person, we experienced a slight increase of incidents, 87 versus 85. Of the 87, there were no specific concentrations, although we saw some along the New Bern Avenue corridor and Capitol Boulevard. Arrests were made in 18 of the cases with a total of arrests of 23 individuals. We did have 1 of these robberies that occurred at a nightclub establishment. Looking at our motor vehicle thefts, we began the year with a 47% increase in auto thefts. That number was incredible. We have trended downward since the beginning of the year, and I'm very pleased. And that was partly due, I believe, to our very robust education campaign regarding Kias and Hyundais, but also to the efforts of our newly formed auto theft task force that has been laser focused, looking at who these offenders are, how they're working together, and really trying to eradicate and bring that crime down. As far as Kias and Hyundais, we saw last year and even into this year the TikTok challenge concerning that. We continue to encourage those who have a Key Start ignition to go online to Kia and to Hyundai, to those websites, and download their anti-theft software upgrade to protect your vehicle. So if you have a Kia, you have a Hyundai, and it's a Key Start and you haven't done that, please, 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 we encourage you to do that. But aside from those particular vehicles, we have seen thefts of all types of motor vehicles, from very high-end vehicle all the way down. In the second quarter, we experienced 536 thefts. We continue to see people or individuals leaving their cars running while they run in real quick to a convenience store or a fast food establishment. That is the quickest way for your vehicle to get stolen, so we discourage that. And we are working very closely with commercial locations such as hotels and making sure that they have proper lighting, signage, and that kind of thing, and that they're getting the message to their patrons to not leave spare keys in those vehicles so that we can discourage car thefts. We also are asking residents, please don't leave spare keys in your cars, even parked in your driveway or close to your home. I know many people feel safe and think that no one will go into their cars and steal their cars, but we have seen thefts in that area. Also, to prevent car thefts and even car break-ins, please take the time to secure your vehicle and do not leave firearms in the cars. Y'all knew I was going to talk about that today. I always talk about the importance of not leaving firearms unsecured. Make sure that they are secured. While I am thankful we saw a decrease in the number of firearms stolen from motor vehicles in this quarter, we are still seeing those firearms unattended in vehicles. In this quarter, we had 117 stolen. Now that is down from last year. This time was 163. We're definitely trending in the right direction, but I know that we can do better as a city. If you park your vehicle outdoors, we do ask that you consider an extra layer of security by utilizing a steering wheel lock. Our police districts have them. You can go there and you can get one. If they don't happen to have one, we will make sure that we get one for you. I am extremely pleased to see an overall decrease in our aggravated assaults. And for the second quarter, we had a 3% decrease and a 16% decrease in aggravated assaults involving firearms. We attribute these successes to a number of factors that we are doing at the police department. One is our proactive policing efforts of our Fortis unit, which is based in our Northeast Raleigh area, and our strategic enforcement team in Southeast Raleigh. Both work very closely with our drugs advice unit, our gang unit, and our federal task force officers to identify offenders who are engaging in street-level crime, but also to illicit gun sales and other criminal enterprises. We also relied on information that came from you, our residents and citizens, in the form of Crime Stoppers tips. Can't tell you how important those tips are. Keep them coming. Through these combined efforts, we've been able to identify suspects quickly and remove them from our community. In the second quarter, we cleared 95 of the aggravated assault cases by arrest. 10% of those cases were suspects who were juveniles. And with the summer months coming in full swing, we expect to see more people outside. We expect to see where people are going to get into confrontations. We are asking the public to be very vigilant during this time. Be aware of your surroundings, and please report any criminal activity that you see. In addition to the crime numbers that I have provided you today, I'd like to talk about some of our good proactive efforts to keep our downtown and our Glenwood South areas safe. You have heard us talk about it, but I'm going to ask my deputy chief to come up in just a second to talk about that, as well as our civilian traffic investigation unit that we have just stood up. We had a lot of work has been put into that. We have been working on it for some time, and we are so happy to be able to announce it. So at this time, I'm going to ask Deputy Chief Boyce if you will come forward to speak on these two areas.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. I am Deputy Chief Rico Boyce, and I oversee our special operations and our field operations division. I first want to give thanks to the men and women of the Raleigh Police Department for what they do each and every day, coming to work, putting in a good 12 hours, and keeping our city safe. In addition to that, I also want to thank our city leadership, our city manager, our mayor, our council. Very appreciative of the resources and the investment that you have made in public safety. And with that regards, with the investment that they have made, speaking of the downtown district, specifically the Transit Mall and Moore Square, early in the first quarter, the City Council approved funding for private security to partner with the Raleigh Police Department in our Moore Square and Transit Mall area. That has been very beneficial. Having those extra eyes in the area of the Transit Mall and Moore Square has prevented serious incidents from happening or occurring, and that has driven our numbers down as far as violent crime. So we're definitely appreciative of that investment. In regards to Glenwood South, late last year, we made some changes in regards to the traffic pattern on Glenwood South, and that has proven to be beneficial. We're going to continue with that traffic pattern going into the second quarter and the third quarter because it's been very, like I say, beneficial in deterring criminal activity in the Glenwood South area. Along with enforcement in the Glenwood South area, we rely on our law enforcement partners tremendously. Our State Highway Patrol, the Wake County Sheriff, and our local agencies here in Wake County routinely have saturation patrols where they will choose an area where they see a lot of speeding, a lot of traffic offenses. They come into the city, they partner with our traffic enforcement unit and special operations, and they make sure that the motoring public remains safe. So that is going to continue. We're going to have them not only in the downtown area, but throughout the city, these saturation patrols. And all this is to make sure that we keep our community safe. You know, we're currently have Operation Firecracker going on for the July 4th holiday, and we will have officers out there looking for impaired drivers, as well as those that are committing traffic offenses. And just like the chief mentioned, I'll end with this. I'm super excited that we now have our civilian traffic investigators. What this is a unit that consists of non-sworn personnel. They will be able to respond to non-injury accidents here in the city of Raleigh. That is very huge for us. That will allow our patrol officers that would normally take those calls, those non-injury accidents, it will allow our officers to now be able to focus on our higher priority calls to help decrease, like say, criminal activity from happening. So we're going to talk more about that after the press briefing here today out in the parking lot, but we're super excited to have that unit. They will be housed in our Special Operations Division. They will be out on the streets. They have new vehicles. We're going to show off our new trucks today out in the parking lot. So we're super excited once again for our city leadership, our state partners coming together and allowing us to have that civilian traffic investigator unit. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief, for that. One other tool that we are using and want to continue encouraging is the use of cameras. We want businesses, particularly in our downtown core, but across our city, at our hotel locations and different businesses, to integrate their camera systems into our real-time crime center as part of our Connect Raleigh platform. And we've spoken about this before with you, but we want to continue to emphasize it. This allows us to have more eyes and ears to make our community safer. It's a voluntary program, and we really want to encourage residents and businesses to do it. With us today is Lieutenant Penny, soon to be Captain Penny. He's going to speak briefly about some of the successes we've had with Connect Raleigh. LT.
Thank you, Chief. So just to remind everyone about Connect Raleigh, it's a video camera sharing public safety program enabling the people of Raleigh to keep our community safe. Connect Raleigh empowers our community members to contribute to our efforts in keeping our community safe. Some of the things that we are accomplishing with this is it's improved communication conveyed directly from the scene to the responding officers, increase officer safety, optimize our apprehension efforts at crime scenes, and corroborate the accuracy of suspect descriptions and paths of flight from crime scenes. To date, we have had 495 cameras registered with our system with Connect Raleigh, and we have 782 integrated cameras that we have the ability to look at from our real-time crime center. Some success stories concerning video in Raleigh. Back on April 25th, we had a double shooting downtown, and a private video camera was successful in capturing that initial altercation, which then led us to identify the suspect and bring that shooting to a conclusion and arrest the suspect in that case. And on May 26th, we had a shooting at a city park. During that shooting, the crowd, the incident was captured, some of the incident was captured on camera. Our real-time crime center went straight to work, started to look at the camera video, seeing where people were fleeing from, and that helped pull our officers and direct our officers into the actual crime scene and help them get to where they needed to be much faster. Overall, we are seeing a success with the Connect Raleigh. Just this week, we've had over 40 cameras registered, and we hope to continue to see this program grow as the information gets out to the public.
Thank you, Lieutenant. That is outstanding, the work that we're seeing because of our Connect Raleigh. And we'd like to thank our police foundation, the Raleigh Police Department Foundation, for providing funding to help us with that endeavor. I'd like to conclude this briefing by turning your attention to the photos of the guns and drugs you saw as you entered this room. All of those images you saw was a result of the extraordinary work by our officers in conjunction with our residents who recognize that while our city is growing at a tremendous pace and we are having staffing constraints like every other police department, we are intolerant of criminal behavior and activity that's occurring in our community. And we will expend every resource that we have to address crime. We're thankful for our community for being a part of that. We spoke about some of those things today. We want to continue encouraging you to serve as those eyes and ears for us. If you see something, please say something. If you think you saw something, let us know what you think you thought you saw. We want to know. And you can call our Raleigh Crime Stoppers at 919-996-1193, or you can leave an online tip by visiting raleighcrimestoppers.org. It takes all of us to achieve our goal of making Raleigh as safe as we can make it. We want it to be the safest city in this nation. Again, thank you for joining us, and at this time, I will open up to any questions you may have related to what we talked about today.
Chief, the first question is from Elena Athens with WTVD.
Hi. I'm sorry. I have, I guess, now two questions. I just want to have clarification. Is that just from these images just from the last quarter or the year?
Yes, for the quarter, or the yearly. I'm sorry. Okay, I stand corrected. For the year.
Okay. The last time I was in this room, it was in February when the city announced it would be doing this partnership with the Department of Justice. And at that time, we were told about $1 million worth of funding would be coming to the Raleigh Police Department to help with a variety of different things and training. So 5 months now into this partnership, could you speak to some of what the implementations are and perhaps some of the strides that have been made in these last 5 months?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you're referring to the PSP, which is the Public Safety Partnership, which we entered in with the Department of Justice and BJA. Extremely pleased that we were selected as and designated as a PSP city. So we have two members of the PSP that's here with us. I'm going to ask our Chief of Staff. She has taken the lead in our PSP initiative. She can talk to some of the advances of the things that we have seen, but also to Bishop Hagee has been at the forefront and a part of this effort with us. They have bi-weekly meetings and talking with all of our partners in this region. But Chief of Staff, if you don't mind just coming up and talk about some of the successes and where some of the money that we have obtained.
Great, welcome. I'm Amanda Rowland, the Chief of Staff. I also serve as the site coordinator for our PSP. In that partnership, the first phase of implementation of the PSP, it will be technical assessment. So currently we have a technical assessment scheduled for the end of July, which will evaluate our non-fatal shootings, just looking at our policies, our procedures, how we operate to see how that compares to best practices across the nation. We have an incredible, record-setting clearance rate for our homicides, but we're also concerned about those non-fatal shootings as well. We've also sent individuals of our PSP team to Boston and also to Miami to work with other partners there. So that type of peer visit allows us to see what others are doing and how they are leveraging technology and strategic partnerships with folks in the community. The next phase will be, we will finalize our strategic plan and identify our 3 goals. Generally speaking, the first goal is to reduce violent crime. And we are also going to implement a community violence interrupter program. We're just working with partners across the nation to find out what model will adapt well here in Raleigh, and how do we project the growth here in a way that allows us to modify the model that we create. Violence interrupter is basically what it is defined as, is finding leverage points to intervene before violent crime happens, and also to intervene when we identify an offender and a victim to try and reduce the likelihood of them recidivating, as well as reducing victimization. So, educating our victims and also creating ways to keep them safe. The next one is to reduce and eliminate and target those who prey on children and human trafficking and exploitation. We consider any crime against a child as inherently violent based on the nature and the age of the children. The last one that we hope to implement is, or we're currently implementing, is reinforcing our real-time crime center. And that's probably where you will see the majority of the funding go. What we're invested in, we have Connect Raleigh. Currently, we're also looking at records management systems, trying to find ways to look at all of our systems, intelligence, link analysis, so that we can really take the data that we receive from a variety of sources and analyze that data, creating intelligence, and then strategically using it to disseminate our resources, as opposed to taking a general approach, which is send everybody to everything and, hope for the best. So that's kind of where we are right now. We will provide an update as we go along, specifically when we finalize our strategic plan. We will be sharing that with the community.
And I will add, thank you. And I will add to that PSP is a 3-year endeavor. I think everybody knows that we got $629,000 because of the work of Senator Tillis and Congresswoman Ross, and we will be putting those funds to our PSP initiatives.
Okay. Thank you for that question, Elena. Next question is from Haley Fixler, CBS 17.
Hello. So we've reported and we've talked to people who have noticed a significant delay in response time, hours long at this point. Can you talk about vacancy rate and say anything about these response times that we've heard about?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I spoke with the Briar Creek community on Monday, and I shared the same thing with them. We're currently sitting at 67 vacancies in the department. We have a large recruit class that is starting Monday, in fact. And so we're looking to really reduce those numbers. As far as response times, that is of concern to us. We serve a community that expects that when they call 911, that an officer or EMS or firefighter is coming. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that our officers are coming. But we do recognize that we live in a city of almost 500,000, and during the week when people come into this city, we can get swelled to 1 million. So that's going to task resources. And so sometimes it does take a while for that resource to come. But one thing that I have been talking to my leaders on the team is that we have to be committed to customer service. If we know that it's going to take us longer than what we would like to on a call, that we should call that individual. We should tell them that we are coming. Had a meeting with the director of the ECC, Dominic Nutter, to tell him the same thing concerning his dispatchers. And so we're going to work collaboratively with that to make sure that the response times are the best that we can make them.
Thank you, Haley. Next question is from Sean Gallagher, WRAL.
Hi, Chief, over here. The snapshot you gave is of the second quarter, but when you compare to open data portal stats for the first 6 months for the last 10 years, we're seeing 10-year highs in total assaults, drug violations, motor vehicle thefts, sex offenses, weapons violations, among others, over the course of those 10 years. What does that say about the current efforts with the wider scope that you can compare to?
Yeah, so I would say that our current efforts are fabulous. We are working and we're being more focused on crime and what we're seeing. But I will share with you, I think we all have seen those trends, those upticks across the nation. They're not unique to Raleigh. What is unique to Raleigh is the growth. We are seeing tremendous growth in this region. It is good growth, but also with that growth, you're going to have a segment of the population that is committing crime. We are fully devoted as a police department to looking at that very closely. I meet with my team, with my leaders, three times a week with my executive staff, and then twice with our command staff to talk about crime, where they're at, what the trends are, so that we can try to, impact it as much as we can.
Thank you, Sean. Last question is with News and Observer, William Tong.
Hi there. I just wanted to ask, so based on the data from here, it seems that the stolen vehicle recoveries has decreased from last year's second quarter to this year's. Could you explain why that is and why maybe it hasn't necessarily caught up with, for instance, the increase in motor vehicle thefts?
Yeah, sure. So those the recoveries can be from anywhere. So a car could be stolen in Durham, it could be stolen in Fayetteville, in Charlotte, and it could be recovered here in Raleigh. So those two don't correlate necessarily. We do track when a car is stolen in our jurisdiction and recovered in our jurisdiction, but we know there are times when it's stolen from somewhere else and then it's recovered. Our new auto theft task force, and the leader of that, Lieutenant Black, is here with us. It's just amazing the briefing that he gave us the other day concerning what we're seeing in our city and the fact that we can really trace and figure out who these offenders are. We're putting our resources and trying to make sure we know who's committing these crimes and that we prevent further ones from occurring.
All right, Chief, that concludes our questions. Chief, closing statement.
Yes. Just want to thank you all for being here again. Please, if you would, as you leave, talk with our new crash investigative unit. We want you to learn about that as much as possible. We also, too, want to impress upon the community, as I stated in my notes, that it takes the entire community to be able to affect crime and to prevent crime. We look to all our partners in the community, within and without, our federal partners, our district attorney's office. All of us are in it together to make sure that our communities are safe. We thank you for your time, and we appreciate you greatly.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, members on the dais. This concludes our news conference today. Our next district community meeting is scheduled for next Tuesday, July 9th, at the Millbrook Exchange Park at 7 p.m., hosted by the North District Commander, Captain Peter Manukas. Please remember that National Night Out is Tuesday, August 6th, and finally tomorrow is July 4th. Please remind your viewers, don't drink and drive, celebratory gunfire is illegal, and use ride sharing. Thank you very much for coming.